Hi everybody, it's Mrs. Hernandez here at Pelkey Party Time. I wanted to say I miss you guys so much and I wish that we could go back to school, but that's not going to happen. So we're just going to have to do what we can. I just wanted to make a short film about dystopias because I just had you read the story Harrison Bergeron, which is seriously one of my favorites. It's such a weird story and it's something so strange to like think about, that there's this futuristic world where everybody's equal, but like not equal in the way that we think of it, like not equality like men and women, but what we think about like with equal, like they put weights on people because if someone's stronger than another person, or maybe someone's smarter, they put this headset on and it makes their thoughts go all crazy. If they're attractive, they make them look ugly, and so they're like always gonna be equal to like the base kind of person. And that base person, really, if you haven't noticed, is Hazel, the mom. The mom's intelligence is very average. She's very average looking in terms of like strength. She's also very average. So everyone's kind of weighted, or what's the word that they use? They're made to be equal to a person like Hazel in this case. Hazel Bergeron, Harrison's mom. So in this story, it's a short story, Harrison is taken away from his family because he is extraordinary and he keeps taking off his handicaps. He keeps removing all his handicaps. And so he becomes, the government does not like this, or the HG men. They don't like this because they want everyone, he's breaking the rules, okay? And so what he does is, well, he gets arrested, and then when he's in prison, he is still trying to fight the system and so forth. So I don't want to give too much away if you haven't read it, but I really suggest, in fact, I know you have to watch the short film 2081. It is so good. And actually has some actors that some of you might recognize. I don't know. But I really enjoy, every time I have to watch it, I really enjoy it. The other thing I wanted to let you guys know, there is a story and it is super freaky. Like the first time I read it, I was like, what is this story? Like, what is going on here? It's called Ponies, and it's by an author, Kij Johnson. It's Kij and then Johnson, how you think it would be spelled. But it's very short, but it starts off super sweet. Ponies. And then it just goes like, I mean, every time I read it, I'm like, what is this story about? Okay, so I'm just letting you know, you really should, if you can, I'll put it in Google Classroom somewhere. You really should read it, just like for fun, not like you don't have to do anything with it, but it's really good in terms of this dystopian fiction. Okay, so I've said this word and you're probably thinking, okay, what is dystopia? It may sound familiar to you. Well, okay, so a utopia is like a perfect world. There's no war, there's no poverty, there's no crime, there's no disease, there's no anything. It's like everything's perfect, right? Well, in making things perfect, it has become the opposite of that. As you've seen in Harrison Bergeron, is that it is now what's called a dystopia. So it's the opposite of a utopia. Utopia being a perfect world, dystopia being anything but that. And a lot of the movies that you've seen, like for example, The Hunger Games, that's a version of, that's an example of a dystopian world. Knock it off. Let's see what else. Divergent, that's another one. Maze Runner was another one. I'm just trying to think of ones you guys would be familiar with. So that's kind of this futuristic world where things have gone crazy, and then there's a character who is really trying to the character is like seeing issues going on in the world and is like, something's got to change here. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you guys about today in this video, is just a little bit about kind of what to expect in the dystopian fiction. I personally really enjoyed dystopian fiction because I think it's kind of interesting to think about a world where just everything has gone crazy and there's all these crazy rules, which strangely feels like what we're going through right now in terms of like, you know, we can't do certain things. I mean, it's not even close to that, but, you know, it's just scary. The Fifth Wave, sorry, I know that's kind of random. The Fifth Wave is another book that kind of higher level, but also about kind of a dystopian end of the world thing. But that's another good read. Just, it came to my mind. Okay, couple things. In dystopian fiction, no matter what book you read, no matter what it is, short story, novel, it doesn't matter. They're always set in a future where things have gone awry. Awry is just a fancy word for crazy. Things have gone just bonkers, okay? There's a lot of rules, okay? There's a lot of rules to follow and customs. Like in Hunger Games, you had they had like the different districts, and each one of the districts had a certain set of rules that they had to follow, and they had to dress a certain way, and all of that was controlled by this higher like government, Panem, or like President Snow, but it was controlled, like it was very controlled. And that's something that's big about dystopian fiction, is there's always some kind of control happening. And it could be controlled by a government. It could be controlled by a religion. It could be controlled by like a religion or like a creed, kind of like a mantra or a philosophy. Also, the other thing it could be is a company. And you kind of see that when you watch the movie WALL-E. Well, sort of. I mean, WALL-E was a futuristic world, but like they're that company where everyone was like really and they were drinking the sodas and sitting down, and it was like buy Big and Large or something like that. I forget what it was off the top of my head. The other thing in dystopian fiction, so it's set in a future everything's gone crazy. Characters have a lot of rules to follow, customs, things that they have to wear, however. They also have the characters challenge or break some of these customs or rules. Okay, and we see this, and if you're familiar with the Hunger Games, you definitely know what I'm talking about, because Katniss for sure breaks the rules. I mean, even when she just, I volunteer as tribute kind of thing, like straight up. The other thing is the characters, you see a lot of characters facing not only external obstacles, so obstacles where like the government, or like in the Hunger Games example, the people were making them do this game, you know, this crazy game, but the characters also facing like a personal obstacle, and so you would think, some people would call that like it would be an internal obstacle. But in this case, characters are going to face, and no matter what dystopian fiction you deal with, they're going to have some sort of like trouble personally, but they're also going to be having trouble coming from like an external, meaning like outside, like a company or government or person, okay? The other thing about dystopian fiction is it really, they're kind of slow to start. And that's why I think some people get kind of frustrated, because they're like, get to the point. Another reason kind of why I like dystopian, like the short stories, like Harrison Bergeron and Ponies and a couple others that Kurt Vonnegut Jr. is an author who is like known for this kind of fiction, and he has a lot of short stories and they're all really good. So I just wanted to point that one out, just in case you're like, I want to read a short story. But the details are always a little bit, it's kind of slow to reveal the details, which in a way is kind of good because it makes you go, okay, like I want to keep reading it, okay? There's a lot of shows on Netflix right now and Hulu that kind of talk about like futuristic worlds where things have gone crazy. And there you have it, dystopia. Okay. I think that's what one last thing is that dystopian fiction relies heavily on symbols. In the Hunger Games, they had the Mockingjay, her pin. They also had some other things that were very symbolic. But in each type of, but it may not be like a thing in dystopian fiction, like a thing you can touch. It could be something larger, in like not necessarily talking about theme, but there's some sort of symbol, okay? And that's something that once you read a lot of dystopian fiction, sorry, my back is hurting, you can really start to go, okay, I see that symbolism. But overall, dystopian fiction, when you really get down to it, can be, I personally find it very fun. I know a couple people who don't like it, but that's because, and that's okay because, I mean, if we only had one kind of genre of literature, we would all, I don't know, I'd be bored because I really do like to read all different kinds. So I'm encouraging you to do that. For now, though, I just wanted to give you kind of an overview of what dystopian fiction was and kind of what to expect. And because I know I gave you this story, Harrison Bergeron, and you're probably like, what is happening? Like, handicaps and equality and who are these people? And I'm hoping that maybe this kind of cleared some stuff up. Maybe. If it didn't, go back and reread it if you want. I honestly think if you watch the film and not read the story, there are some differences. Obviously, creative license in movies always take creative license. So there are some changes from the actual story that could be like, you could be a little confused by that. Just go with it. However, when you're answering questions, I really want you to stick to the actual, like, reading, not the short film. But other than that, I just wanted to give you a very short little snippet of what dystopian fiction is. I know I will come back later and talk to you more about it. But for now, that's it. Okay, I'm out. Have a great rest of your day.